Good evening, everybody. I am Pınar Dinçkalaycı from Gazi University, Department of Architecture. I am the architect, coordinator, moderator of this series of events, the international exhibitions and webinars of Design Studios. Today, we are running the first meeting, therefore feel the enthusiasm of hosting you, all the people who are interested in architectural design studios. I see lots of colleagues, lots of students of mine. Thank you very much for joining us. What we do and how we do will be our main concern, as each month we will be listening to two presentations, one from Gazi University and one from a European peer. And also we will open two digital exhibitions. I thank to my Gazi colleagues and to the European colleagues who answered my call positively and accepted my invitation without hesitation. I have some personal thanks as well to the individuals who made these events possible and perceptible. Let me give my special thanks to the Rector's Office who motivates international affairs, to the Dean of the Faculty, Professor Nakış Karamağralı, who chaired me, to the Department of Architecture, who gave me the courage and confidence for transparency, and to Gizem Özkan-Üstün, my research assistant, who prepared all posters and made us noticeable. Being the backbone of architectural education, design studios always seek for new ways of teaching. Themes and methodologies vary with geographies and school cultures, whereas crises like the recent pandemic have hardening or easing effects on the conditions of studios. Conventional components and processes that continue in studios and the confrontations with various new and mostly diverse fluctuations put design studios in a very specific position that requires deeper concern. Each studio is a conceptual and physical microcosmosis that has unique ways of contact with the universe. Therefore, collecting different approaches and decoding the dynamics behind the uniqueness of studio environments was considered to be necessary for constructing effective ways of dealing with global, universal features of time. It's great joy for me to see how we are ready for such organizations, initiations that is spontaneous, friendly, enthusiastic, and stimulating. Hope this energy triggers many other collaborations and collaborators as well. In the events, we will be hosting the eminent teachers from the University of Ljubljana, Slovenia, the Sapienza University of Rome, Italy, the West Pomeranian University of Technology, and the University of Białystok from Poland, the University of Delft, Leiden, Delft Erasmus Port City Futures Group, and the Eindhoven University of Technology from Netherlands, as each will be paired with a studio from Gazi Architecture. We will have chance to see the variables and the varieties in the design studio teaching that is done in the first quarter of the 21st century. Sure, our quantity represents a very small section of the era, as the qualities of each presentation and exhibition seem promising more. This evening, we will hear from Gazi University, Dr. Güngör, who will introduce the frame and components of the studio Think Imagine of Gazi University. As my dear Slovenian colleague, Professor Lucija Azman Momirski, will take us beyond planetary issues, so be ready to leave the world behind. I especially thank to Lucija for accepting my invitation and being with us tonight. You are going to see her in the progressing hours. So I see our Dean, Nakış Karamağralı. She is with us. She was panicking a little bit because she had some problems of connecting with us. some connection accidents happen. I want to invite her to give us some hello and to give us some startup motivation. Hello, Nakış Karamaralı, Professor, please, it's yours.
Hello, good evening, everybody. I'm sorry for the technical problem. Yes, it made me a little bit panic. I'm sorry for the delay. Good evening, dear colleagues, students, and all participants. Welcome to our International Exhibitions and Design Studios first meeting, which will be held with webinars and exhibitions. This event is hosted by the Department of Architecture and the Faculty of Architecture of Gazi University. And we have many participants, as my colleague, Professor Pınar Dinç Kalaycı said. Other participants are from Slovenia, from Italy, from Poland, and from Netherlands. We will have 8 webinars, one for each month, and 16 digital exhibitions. We're very excited for that. And as the scope, sharing what we are doing and how we are doing in design studios with you, and also hearing yours. Main characteristics, pedagogies, profiles, sample works, and specific considerations for the 21st century architecture of the design studios are expected to be displayed and shared. Hope and step for future collaborations. And my special thanks to our moderator, Professor Dr. Pınar Dinç Kalaycı, who is the head of everything in this event. And together with her, Gizem Özkan Üstün, who prepared and announced the poster presentations. And also my thanks to Gazi University's precious scholars, students, and audience who participate this valuable event. I wish a fruitful and successful meeting, and I hope to come together for further collaborations soon. Thank you very, very much, and the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, our Dean, Professor Dr. Nakış Karamaralı. Now is the time for the presentations. As I said before, there will be 2 presentations, one from Gazi University. Dr. Can Güngör will present first, and then Lucija, Azman, Momirski, Professor Lucija, Azman, Momirski will present second. Dear audience, please find the biographic information of the 2 eminent presenters on the poster of the event, and get ready hearing about what they're doing, and how they're going to introduce what they're doing in the studio, what they're doing and how they're doing it. You may have questions, please write them to the chat section of the program. We do not promise answering all the questions, but we promise to do our best. So dear Can, my colleague in the studio, I want to start with you. Yes, stage is yours, please.
Good evening, everybody. I hope you can hear me. I would like to welcome you all to the exhibitions and webinars of Design Studios, which has been prepared for the 100th year of the Gazi University, towards 100th year. And I'd like to start sharing a screen and start the presentation. Okay. I think it's all set.
Yes, we see it. That's fine.
This webinar is coordinated by the Studio Think Imagine, which I'm an instructor of, and has been, we've been together with Studio Think Imagine since 2013, I suppose. And we've been working on many projects with the Studio Think Imagine. And we have been sharing good times with our students and my colleagues, of course. I'd like to sample you with some of the products of those years passed by, and hopefully try to make you understand, try to make us be understandable to the listeners, how we do it, what we do, and what are the results of our work. As Studio Think Imagine, we have been challenging architecture project students to reflect their intellectual accumulations of their education and visualize them via different media on varying subjects, on alternating places and times. These projects that we call are unprecedented virtual intellectual representations taught and imagined. I'll try to explain why we call them this in the following slides. Those were good old times when we could travel without thinking twice. In fall 2016, we went to Kınalıada, Istanbul, which is an island in the Sea of Marmara. It is the closest of the Prince Islands to Istanbul. Istanbul is my favorite city, of course, after Ankara, for a project where the main design challenge was the generation of pavilion spaces within the existing historical fabric of this beautiful island. The unique and one-off nature of pavilion building had to bring a vibrant touch to the context it was in and give its designer the chance to improvise and realize a utopian yet functioning building. One of our students responded this with an expanding structure in a single plot of land, while another one attached his pavilion to an existing historical building on the island. One student designed a standalone monumental orb on the seashore, easily recognizable from the city of Istanbul, while another one took her chances on the sea surface. In spring 2017, we did not abstain from going to the beautiful Cappadocia, Nevşehir, which is the historical region in central Anatolia, famous for its volcanic peaks and touristic hot air balloon rides. Of course, not limited to that. For a design problem for our students, which was generation of an architecture faculty campus as a landmark of 21st century on the rural historical topography of Cappadocia. The untouchable natural environment has provided challenging areas, yet virtuous design solutions have been provided by the ingenuity of our students who were extremely attentive to rural and touristic areas. One of our students chose a plot of land overlooking the Peribacaları, fairy chimneys, rock formations near Göremein, Cappadocia, and resided on it within her own organic forms. And another one decided to build her very own Uçhisar castle in the shape of a pyramid and occupy it with the architecture faculty campus. Another one took the semi-underground approach to designing a faculty campus, most probably influenced by the Derinkuyu underground city that we have visited. And another one chose to resemble slightly pressed down chimney formations and blend into the natural environment. In fall 2017, we went to Kaliçi, Antalya, which is the historic city center of Antalya, Turkey, where there are buildings dating back to late 18th and 19th centuries, traditional Turkish homes, many of which have been converted into boutique hotels, restaurants, and shops, and serve as a touristic area. And it is fronted by a yacht harbor that dates back to Roman era. For a project that's design problem was transformation of these historical buildings and sites within architectural approaches that represent the 21st century architecture. The unequivocal value of the Kaliçi area and the Antalya harbor, aging back hundreds of years, had to be imagined with riveting new functions and professionally designed buildings within the historical context. One of our students rose to the challenge by providing a protective institution for the endemic plants of the region, and another one simply refunctioned the existing walls of Kaliçi to be used with both touristic and cultural and educational attractions. I'm sorry. Other ones focused on the existing harbor area, which today is filled with touristic ferry rides, and transformed it to alternating cultural and bazaar functions without neglecting the human proportions. In spring 2018, surprisingly, we stayed home in Ankara and approached a growing problem for our own city and sampled it in Akköprü region of Ankara. That takes its name from a historical bridge in Yeni Mahalle district of Ankara, crosses the Ankara River in front of Varlık neighborhood. It is the oldest bridge in Ankara and still in good condition. The design problem was the realization of transformations to be created with a new architectural approach on a shopping mall site and create an urban landmark of the 21st century. The unsustainable growth in size and number of shopping malls in a city should be controlled with viable design interventions for regeneration of better and more functional public gathering areas. Our students restructured and transformed the enormous land of an old shopping mall and turned it into a park with artificial hills covered with green spaces, gathering areas, sports fields, hobby structures, and also open-air concert areas and bicycle routes and jogging parkour. Another student approached the area as an opportunity for an international fairground that would enrich the city of Ankara and host many inviting events throughout the year. Another one combined water and greenery with cultural center and a library where university students across Ankara would benefit. As our touristic architectural travels started to fade away in history in fall 2018, we chose to be apart from space, place, and time. The design problem was today's architectural production embracing the place instead of design, where designing in time can be a flow-oriented interpretation. This project, seasonal spaces had to be developed on a riverside that was in danger of overflow. These spaces would stand functionless in times of overflow, then would be reopened to use in times of normal flow. Music with a choreography, program, narration, scenario can be a reference to obtain a flow-oriented interpretation in architecture. Our students chose a place near a riverside from their hometowns or cities of they thought that their projects would benefit, and came up with solutions integrating technology, science, and cultural development of these areas and reflect them to their projects that with at least 4 times special solutions. In spring 2019, a growing situation emerged as immigration was increasingly felt around the city of Ankara. That year, the design problem was production of a migration museum and related spaces for the immigrants within the existing context of the Gazi Mustafa Kemal Boulevard, where temporary accommodations of these immigrants were felt intensely. The unpredictable flow of immigrants to a city can cause vagaries in social behavior and test the infrastructure in residential areas. Our students responded to this situation in varying ways. One of them solved the museum function within a single plot of land, where another one chose to turn to a high-rise development in which accommodation and other functions take place along with the museum. They also provided solutions to the surrounding environment and chose to integrate other functions to museum and elevate their designs over existing parks and keep ground level as public space. In fall 2019, the existing usage of the Zafer Square in Ankara. Zafer means victory, although it is traditionally called a square. It is not a junction point right now. Was the design problem. The reconstruction of Zafer Square and the ground floors of its surrounding buildings with at least 2 times special solutions addressing today's and future problems by new functions and or revitalizations of old uses of existing spaces. The unintentionally occupied Zafer Square today should be evaluated via the intentional refunctioning of the square with new approaches. As our students were obliged to solve 2 different timelines at the selected place, after an intensive research on the past of Zafer Square, they tried to design alternating solutions for the development of the square as of today and approximately 50 years from today. The solutions in today's design were mostly focused on the existing usage of the area and refunctioning of the square, but some future predictions went on to foresee vast changes in height and function of surrounding buildings. Nevertheless, the square remained intact and went on to provide an open public area and green spaces to its users. In spring 2020, we were struck by the disrupted education semester as the universities were shut down due to pandemic. The initial design problem was to learn the rules and regulations governing the city of Ankara and transfer both these rules and our students' imagination into designing a 3-star hotel within the context, giving a green and ecology-oriented facade to the boulevard. The unimpressive facades of the Gazi Mustafa Kemal Boulevard should be enriched by a vibrant and improvised hotel solution regarding the regulatory restrictions. After 3 weeks of face-to-face education, we went online and continued our project's critics in a distant manner. As Studio-Think imagined, we were not deeply frustrated by the situation as we had our online platforms already installed for one-to-one evaluation of uploaded projects and started using them more effectively. And actually, we managed to go on to finish our students' designs before the end of the semester, which lasted till the end of July. The results were satisfying and complete, but lacked the touch of a mock-up, and replaced it with detailed computer models as seen here. In 2020 fall and 2021 spring, we went on to design with our students online and chose another platform to conquer online national and international student competitions. The challenge proposed for our students were to select and participate in an international or national student competition that they thought would address the problems of a changing world, where their ideas and designs can provide an effective solution to a specific problem. What we believed was that the ubiquitous solutions to design problems in various subjects are inadequate and should be revamped by fresh approaches via architectural competitions. Our students went on to attend student competitions in varying subjects all around the world, such as student dorm for the poor, a new approach to a vertical university, a new cultural center proposal for an oasis in the middle of the desert, a religious, non-religious center by the walls of a Chinese town, a new approach to justice for humanity, and the competition about the shoreline of the Black Sea town in Turkey. As results came by, we are proud to announce that they gained recognition by the juries of those competitions, as they received honorable mentions, equivalent first place awards, and editor's choice listings. And those awards are just one of the many reasons we call these projects unprecedented virtual intellectual representations taught and imagined by our valuable, clever, and hardworking students of Studio Think Imagine. As a final word, at Studio Think Imagine, we believe that the universities should be a vanguard of the use of information technology in way for restructuring the architectural education. And we should also be prepared for unexpected situations and strongly respond to the challenges. Thank you for listening, and please take your time to visit our virtual tour prepared by our research assistant, Yusuf Berabilici, at the written website. Also, I'd like to thank Mehmet Özyıldırım for his research and contribution. And also, I'd like to thank our research assistant, Gizem Özkanüstün, for all the graphical materials that she has provided for this presentation. Thank you.
So everybody, thanks to Gizem, she's the star of the night. Thank you very much, Can. I've heard a lot of what we did in the studio. Is it possible you a little bit summarize about how we do it as well? Because they are going to observe something different in the exhibition. There are some manifestos somewhere, there are some the thing works. Maybe the audience would like to give a meaning to it. Is it possible you just give a little bit of information about these things as well? Thank you.
Well, yes, that's the main point that we have to tell our followers here how we do it. We can start with our manifesto. You see, we have published it in our website before, but it has many number of lines, but I'd like to summarize it for our visitors here. First of all, the design studio, our manifesto suggests that the design studio is based on the individual and supports development of his or her imagination and expressive power. Individual dreams and fantasies are tested and sharpened by studio's interactive environment. While doing this, contemporary architectural practices, theories, and scientific knowledge are the thinking tools of the design studio. Also, history and contemporary architecture are reference to the design studio. Design begins with the exploration of the place. Of course, the individual who determines his own design point is considered to have drawn the first line of his design. The task of the studio is to make people comprehend the fact that each line in the design is an interpretation of human life. The design studio uses all possibilities, communication to, it requires the work in which the individual expresses himself in the writing, as well as architectural drawings, model making, and other drawing products. It was good old times. Maybe the design education was done with paper and pen, with a desk and a critic holding a pen and a paper with the student face to face with each other. The design is tried to grasp on the face-to-face evaluation of the students' studies that has brought in, and it has to be understood by the student what can be done and what cannot be realized by a project. And the studio is responsible for developing and testing the knowledge and skills at all stages. Well, another important point in our studio's manifestation and also in the application is the design studio has to offer an outside eye to the students' studies so that the student can test his work, test his project with some other professional so that he or she can get feedback and develop it for a better project. And these products are, of course, the products of all semesters are evaluated together comparatively at the end of the semester. And of course, the other eye that I suggested in the previous line is also invited to the last meeting so that the student can feel the evaluation like a competition within itself. And I can also expand the application in some other ways. We are using other techniques. We used to use other techniques when we were face-to-face in the school. We had our students come together at a meeting in the first week, in the introduction week, and talk about the project, talk about the manifestation of the studio and the project of this term and what they are going to do, what they are going to plan to achieve. And of course, we talked a lot about what are we going to do in the architectural tours that we are going to take that I dearly miss, actually. After that, we sent our students to research on what the project is all about, what the past and present of the place, what they are going to find there, what they're going to put as a new project, as a new function to the place, and how it's going to answer to the existing surrounding environment, existing buildings around it. And the design process starts within a few weeks of research and maybe some statistical analysis of the site and the project. The 3D exhibition that we are going to present you, that you are going to visit in the link that I previously proposed, you are going to see some kind of other applications that we do, which is actually called the thing. After the design start of a design process, we start with the thing study. The thing is what the initial design idea, a project can improve from. But not only a sheet of drawing or a fast plunge into the plans and section drawings or elevation drawings, but it can be as simple as a wire mesh, a cardboard pile cut into an installation, a cutout of styrofoam board on the mock-up of the place that the project can take place in, anything that is going to turn into a project later in the design process. They must firstly, our students must first understand what the thing is, and they have to make us understand what the thing is. And they can turn this thing into a building, or just the thing can just be an element on the facade of the building. But it must make a starting point or an ending point in the design. Not only the thing itself can become the project, but the project cannot be the thing by itself. Another point that we make important, I think is important in our application of project design studios, is the critical day. The most important, it's actually the most important stage. After day-to-day critics with our students, we make them prepare 3 or 4 copies of their projects and invite other architectural professionals from outside universities or project offices, and make them present their projects to the newcomers, to the total strangers for the first time, and get their feedback on their projects. It's the collusion of the designer and the critic at the critical day is crucial for our students. Every student must get at least 3 critics from different experts on what they say on their projects. And the most important point is they have to evaluate what is good for their project, what is doable for their own project at the end of the semester, and they have to choose it from the feedback and apply it to their projects for the last 3 or 4 weeks. Of course, not everything is changed in their projects, but they are altered in a positive manner. After the critical day, they have little time to finish their projects, but we go on to study the presentation posters, which we give mostly the outline, but they have to fill it in with proper and qualified drawings. And after that, the final presentation in our studio is the final day. We call it the project bazaar, and all the projects are hung up on the walls, and the jury that we have invited to the critical day is also invited to the project bazaar, and they give first place, second place, third place awards, and honorable mention, jury's choice awards to the students, regardless of what we as teachers give grade to the students. Sometimes a student that has a lower grade might possibly get a higher competition rank, but that doesn't happen often. Yeah, that's the outline of our project and the design studio, and anything else I can answer, I can.
Thank you for your detailed answer. All these things can be observed in our exhibition. I think Gizem shared its link in the chat section. Also, we shared Slovenian architect Lucija Azman Momirski's exhibitions link as well. And thank you for explaining what a Studio Think Imagine is, how it is doing, and what it is doing. Thanks a lot, John. Now it's turn to Lucija Azman Momirski from University of Slovenia. She's University of Ljubljana. She's from Slovenia. We were together in 2018 as I've been to Ljubljana as an Erasmus staff mobility academic, and she hosted me. I was very happy to meet her, and this night also I'm very honored and I'm very happy to host her. So thank you very much, Lucija, again for accepting my invitation. And would you please tell us about your studio? I'm inviting you to the stage to make your presentation.
Dear Pinar, thank you very much. Do you hear me? Is it
Yes,
okay?
yes, everything is correct. Okay.
Because as you've seen a couple of minutes ago, my line disappeared.
Okay.
But now I'm back. So I would like to thank to the Dean at the Gazi University for this opportunity. And of course, Pinar, who invited me to present what we are doing in Ljubljana. And let me start with my personal experience. Already as student, I felt that studio is my room. So I was there from the early morning till the late night. Even I was rarely attracted to go to listen to lectures because I felt really attached to the studio. And when I finished my studies, actually, I never really left the faculty. But when I finished my studies, I missed terribly the atmosphere, the discussions, the dialogue, the exchange of ideas, which happened in the studio. So I started in 1994. With my 93-94, with my first workshop together with a colleague from Harvard. And we made a concept and then also accomplished 2 workshops on different topics as an extracurricular activity of the students. And that was quite successful, so I extended them, and so years of more and more workshops followed, and it was such a good energy, and those feelings of mine which I had as a student in the studio came back, and so then I decided and I asked the dean if I may apply for a European project, because our studio, so the studio in our school is of course a kind of continuation of the Viennese school, so it's a master class actually, and but you know it's depends what kind of master you have. So the quality of the studios in the beginning of 90s or mid 90s was very different. And the students were complaining and the teachers were not satisfied. So I suggested to the dean, well, let's make an attempt, an activity to add to the quality of the studio. And really, I applied for the European funds and we got that approved. And together with 2 other universities, the Rotterdam Academy of Architecture and with Graz, with Technical University of Graz in Austria, we received that funding. And then 3 years, we very intensively studied the studio and workshops which are integrated in the studio and shared studios. It means that the same studio is going on in at a faculty in Austria and Slovenia, and we compared results and so on. So that was, I have to say, extremely important experience for me because it showed many different phases of a studio. Well, at last, when the project ended, we accepted the faculty, the Senate of the faculty accepted that the workshop becomes an obligatory part of a studio. And since then, so 20 years now, the students are obliged to obliged to also to have to participate in a workshop. Sorry, I didn't start my because my computer crashed down in between. I have to open my presentation. Sorry for this. Impossible. Okay. Okay, no, that's not the last one. Well, it seems that my computer, when it crashed, it also crashed the presentation, but still I have another one, so I can show you that one. Luckily. Okay. Right. So we are 4 collaborators in our studio, and I have beside me, there are 3 more assistants with whom I work already more than 10, 15 years. And that is also essential because I get support. We have quite a number of students in our studio, ranging from 30 to 40 each year, from the first year till the 5th year. I was, for example, I started. That's how it's arranged in our school. I started as an assistant to a professor dealing with all the years, but in approximately 20 years ago, I was able to have my own studio for the 4th and the 5th year. And since 2012, I'm the head of a studio for all studying years. So in the past academic years, the students of my design studio, they developed their concepts of architecture on the moon and the universe. And this is what I'm going to show you today. It is, well, we choose every year different context. So it takes, the students remain in studio for 10 months. So they have in these 10 months, they have different tasks. For example, in this year, we are we are following another international collaboration where that takes 1 month. And then afterwards, they will have to search for a location. They will have to elaborate the location. And then in the second part, then follows the concept of the building, and they have to prepare the plans, and then they have to prepare the design, of course, also presentation. In last years, we had a very successful collaboration with different colleagues from Europe who came with their students for 2 or 3 days. And that was at the very end of the studio. So in May, because end of May, we conclude our studio. And they critically looked at the results of the studio. And they said, well, this is good, this is not good, this should be changed, and so on. so that we also, when the studio ends, it's a kind of beginning also. And then at the end of the studio, beginning of June, there is exhibition of all studios in the school. It's a public one, so everyone can come and can access that. So what I will show is the concepts of architecture and the moon and the universe. And what we particularly liked when choosing this topic was that the students were exposed to the basic of interdisciplinary work, which is usually quite impossible to cover within the regular studies, and it's quite a demanding starting point. So because it was not only necessary to study reference material within the architectural discipline, but it was also necessary to gain insight into the fundamental assumptions of life support systems and to search in the exact sciences for the circumstances of human landing in a virtually inanimate environment. So this put the students in a very different role, because when they are here on Earth and they are doing an architecture here on Earth, very often they stand the position, well, we know everything about living there. We absolutely, so why should we research now? Why should we go in detail? But with the moon and with the universe, this kind of attitude of students changed. So they were a little bit afraid. So where are we doing that? What kind of location is this? So we were very happy about considering the pedagogical work. The topic was actually very fortunate. It is also this kind of topic because there are different disciplines involved. It means the students, they have to search for information on other departments on the university. And this is also very positive because usually they just stay stuck at the Faculty of Architecture and then they do not look across the walls. So the topic supported this kind of collaboration as well. Most of the projects which I will show are conceptually located at the moon's south pole because there is a relatively good solar irradiation. It is thought there are also some ice reserves there. And in living in the orbit is those all taken for granted starting points of living, working and producing and recreating on the Earth are completely transformed. And that's the students, of course, they also had to consider all the ergonomics, all, of course, structural, technical and material details. So for all those, to be clear about those topics, we also invited other colleagues at the faculty to share their knowledge with us. Perhaps another explanation about our studio is that in the studio, there are all students of all years. So from the first year till the 5th year, they are all together there. And this is also very positive because they learn from each other. Yes, because the students from the 4th year and the 5th year, they can take a kind of a role of a, of a leading force in the studio. And then it's not only on us to teach them, but they learn from each other. And so that is something that's traditionally organized at the Faculty of Architecture. And we think that's quite successful. So now I will go through the sample of students' works, which are also presented at our exhibition. This, for example, is a lunar greenhouse on the moon. And it consists of 2 elements. One element is this one, which is constantly moving in and out. So it sinks in the ground and then comes up again and allows specific vegetation to circulate according to the path of the sun rays. This is actually an agricultural farm, and then other vegetables, they are stored here and they are circulated so that they get as much sun as possible. It's very interesting that connecting those elements really reproduces a kind of interesting urbanism, which you can see here. Even better, perhaps here, because all those units, of course, below the earth, they are connected together. You can see the hierarchy of the main paths where these transports are organized, and of the smaller connections or tubes where those vegetables are flowing. It was nice to see, because the student, she said, well, what is actually the essential vegetation? And so she also went to the agricultural faculty and talked with the specialists there. So they selected which is the essential vegetation and which could survive this kind of industrial production. Here on the left, you see there are also below the earth areas where people live and work. These are the two models. On the right side, you can see the model of the urbanism. On the left side, the model of the so-called tree of the lunar greenhouse. This is a lunar hospital, which is actually a narrower conceptual name for a modular building that provides all support functions, and it is not just a hospital. So the modular structure, namely, makes it easy to add new wards as required, with the large crisscrossing circular passageways at the edges of the buildings, becoming giant windows. This is the best seen in this image. So it's the modularity supporting the growth of the building, but also the inner distribution. Then we have this is so-called industrial industrial building. It means which also has residential units. It's a kind of a spatial hybrid of a helium mining settlement, which combines living and also combines the production and warehouse facilities. It has its own energy, so it can move on the moon ground, and at the same time, it's digging the regolith and the rock on the moon, and then stores it inside the building, and there they make a kind of production. And here you can see. So the student also thought about the inner spaces, how they are organized for living, for industrial production, and so on. And here on this image, you can see how it grabs the ground, how it grabs that rock, and then it turns around and it comes inside the building. We also, when we look at this this image, we are supporting in studio the students so that they really make all kinds of presentations of their project. So we insist on making models. We insist that they make 3D presentations, that they make animations. So, and we also support them that they learn all programs. So we are not satisfied if they learn only one program, but we would like them to learn all programs. We also teach Grasshopper, and they have to work in Rhino, because we think that they have the opportunity and they can do it. This is the so-called lunar eye, and the idea started with considerations. Well, we have large telescope systems on the moon, and how can we put them there? And those telescope systems, they are producing also beams, and the idea of the student was to come out of a concept of a beam towards the new building. So the telescope systems are located above the lower floors where people live and where there are public spaces. Here you can see this comparison between the idea and then the building itself. A big problem on the moon is isolation, and in this case, the lower part is isolated with ice. Then this one is a solar power plant, which consists of heliostats and solar cells, and they are arranged in concentric circles, and those concentric circles move along their vertical axis according to the best use of solar energy. Above them is, as you see, a large light collector, which dominates this extended arm. You can see it here. And the whole thing is moving about 3 meters a day. So starting a new cycle every lunar month, that means every 20 days. So it was very interesting to see these different positions of circles. And here you can see the model. So the students, when they were preparing their project, they had to study quite a lot how this can really work or not. There was a lot of discussions also with the technicians, we had colleagues from England, from Slovenia, who are dealing only with these universe techniques. So they helped the students to develop their concepts. This is also universe power, but done in a different way. So it's a kind of how do you call that? It's a kind of a spiral, and around that spiral you have those arms which are catching the sun, and that energy goes into the main framework where it's produced into the energy. This is so-called interactive multimedia center, and it allows visitors to experience presentations in zero gravity. So zero gravity demands a completely different design. And also with the different technology and techniques, they can experience the transformation of a visual message into music and the change of the shape of the space. So the zero gravity gives many more and different possibilities as they are on Earth. This one I particularly like because this is so-called universe debris can. It's debris in space is becoming quite a problem because it can damage spacecrafts and satellites when they collide. And there are currently more than 500,000 pieces of potentially harmful debris orbiting the Earth. And so space agencies, they usually return the debris back to Earth in special missions, which are, of course, extremely expensive, so they have high costs. But this one, universe garbage track, we could say, is a space object which travels in the universe. When it meets debris, it can eat it up in different ways. So some go here, some go here, some go here. So in a different way. And then when it has that debris, it also changes its form. And then when the debris is inside that, I would say, living building and changing the form, then also this debris is starting to be transformed, recycled, yeah, at the end, again, the building gets back into its original form. And the last one is also a greenhouse in the universe, because when people, wherever they live, of course, as in the moon, as on the moon, also in the universe, they need to produce vegetables. And this universe greenhouse is a kind of a garden that provides room for the residents. They can cultivate by themselves plants in zero gravity. And so this spiral-shaped structure is also a place of socialization, interaction, and it improves the life of the residents. So, yeah, and that's also the last image. So I'm sorry, this is all presented in our exhibition. I think Pinar shared the link to that exhibition. We would like, we think first that this kind of topic is extremely good in pedagogical sense, but it also presents us with real challenges, because I think these are the future challenges which we will have in our projects. So I think it's very good that the students already during their studies think about that. Some colleagues think this is too futuristic, but I don't think so. I think perhaps in 10 or 15 years, this will become a reality. So thank you very much.
Thank you a lot, Lucija. In fact, I agree with you. We think that many people think that this is very futuristic, but humanity has been dealing with space since, let's say, 100 years or even ages. The sky was in the interest of humanity since the beginning of humanity on Earth. Yeah. So living in the sky somewhere in the galaxies, some other galaxies, is not a very far problem. Thank you very much for your presentation. I would just like to mention one or two things, to underline one or two things. One is the vertical design studio. I'm also a supporter of vertical design studio, and also in Gazi University, we do the same. But we do not take students from first year to fourth year. We just do the collection from second year, second semester, from second year, second semester to fourth year, second semester. So the first year is basic design, and then there's a threshold studio, and then the vertical design studios start. I just wonder how you manage the first year students and the last year students, and they're meeting in the same topic, because this becomes a little bit problematic. The new beginners are really novice people, and the diploma ones are the know-all people. They are the architects, in fact. So how do you manage it?
Well, we are sometimes very surprised because the results for the same topic of the first and second years are better than of the fourth and fifth year. And we were discussing that a lot. And we think that, you know, students in our school, they very often start to work in the offices in the third year. And I think they somehow through that work, they lose a way of vision and of conceptual thinking. They just lose the imagination. And it's a pity really to see that. We don't have a problem. As I said, we don't have a problem. Okay, for the first year, sometimes we don't put them in so it means the second semester of the first year. Those students are very much guided still. So we guide them very much at that time because they have to learn some basics and the programs and things like that. But the third semester already, you know, they are quite exposed and open, and they have to think on their own. And as I said, sometimes the results are really surprisingly much better than in the fourth and fifth year.
Okay, I see, and I'm not surprised. Thank you very much. There is a question from Professor Esin Boyacıoğlu, who is going to present in our series of events as well. Thank you very much. The theme of the studio was very challenging and awesome. This is for you, Lucija. What I like to ask was the procedure of design. Are the students working individually or in groups?
Yeah, we're studying the location and the conditions of the locations. They were asked to do that in groups because they had to gather quite a lot of data, scientific data, very different than from other years, studio years, or other courses at the faculty. So that would be too difficult. We thought that they do individually. So they had to do that in groups and together, and was quite successful. I have to say, I was pleasantly surprised. But then when they choose what kind of theme they would like to elaborate and what kind of building or object they would like to design, they have to do that individually, and we quite insist on that.
Why do you insist?
Because first, when they work in groups, it's always problems because there is one student who is leading the rest of the group, and at the end, that one student does 90% of work, and the rest, you know, they are just having holiday. So it's we start as a team, so they know what is a teamwork. But then in the next process, they have to show their individuality, their work, their knowledge, and they have also to stand out as, you know, I don't know, as someone who carries an idea and knows how to present it and knows how to make an argument for that idea.
Okay, I also wonder about the interdisciplinarity part. You said that the other faculties and their staff also helping you, collaborating with you. What about their enthusiasm working with architects? Are they willing to do it, or you made them obliged to do it?
No. We have a very good experience and very good reply. So from people from different fields and from different faculties, they like to come. I don't know why, but they like to come to the faculty at the Faculty of Architecture. And also for them, as I observed those processes in those years, also for them, it seems that the studio, when they see the studio and the models and so on, it seems kind of supportive environment, stimulating environment. So we don't have problem with that. They all like to come very much.
What about your students? Do they like the others as well? Because some professions speak with their own terminology and they have their own world. Meeting with other profession can cause some, let me say, cultural clashes or professional clashes. Does that happen, or students are just learners?
No. Until now, we only had one experience where the students were really confused, and there was we had a very nice colleague from Poland who is a philosopher, and she came and gave a couple of lectures, and then she sat in a round table with the students, and as philosophers, she tried to address some issues and to question those issues. And those issues were not only about architecture, they were about people, about living, about attitudes towards culture, towards each other, as living persons and so on. And there they were confused.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let me rest you a little bit, and I have some questions for John. Dear John, what do you think about the future of the studio? Will it be an online one, or it's happening to be face-to-face again? Which one is more productive, do you think?
Well, as humans, we miss what we lose. So we think it's better. It was better then as a human being. But always new challenges bring new attitudes, new techniques to handle these situations. So we are grasping the situation well. We are handling the new studio working styles well. So it's going to be better if we coordinate the face-to-face with the online presentations. Maybe may take place online, and the research may take place online with the student and the lecturer coming together at a very rapid way, so that it can be a better organization if we take it online and face-to-face with each other. Because the feedback I got from the students on the disrupted education period was that they lacked the touch of the model making and understanding what how to handle the building in his hands, how to attach the pieces together and put it on a model of the place and see it on the context it resides in. They may have lost it a little bit, although the 3D models give some information to the student and the observer what the building is going to look like. But maybe that's something we miss. We miss the big models on the table. And another thing I have to mention about the architectural design studio is that we have to integrate all the information technology along with the augmented reality and virtual reality equipments, gadgets and everything, with building information modeling techniques, programs and other things. Put them all together in some way that we architects can teach. Architecture students can learn how to design buildings, how to live in the buildings, and how to make them feel them in their own eyes, maybe in the scale of first person walking in the augmented reality, virtual reality of building it himself is designing at the same time. Might be a stepping stone, a threshold to be overcome. And also there is one other problem I see as the problem of our profession. Maybe the artificial intelligence may take over our profession by having the enough data for a program which has to be designed for building. And with that enough data, with the enough computer power, they can start building their own plans, elevations, and put spatial heights to the necessary heights to the buildings and start building it by themselves without the need of human touch. And that might be a problem for us. Maybe we can start thinking about how can we integrate ourselves in that artificial intelligence threat, I might say, and put an end to the robots trying to design architectural projects. Maybe we can stop them.
Thank you. I also have a question for both of you. John started with our studios visiting places, going to Cappadocia, going to Kınalıada, just visiting and being there, feeling, sensing what is around. And nowadays we are just in front of our computer screens and we are trying to sense places from a distance. There's a song like called that, From a Distance. Everything is from a distance. Lucia's team just senses places from a very far distance because it is in the space. And nowadays we are working for architectural design competitions for students, and they are trying to sense different geographies from a distance. So what about this from a distance problem? I mean, how can we solve it? I mean, how, if we cannot touch the realities of places, how can we propose the right senses and the right answers to the problems of places? Lucija, please, would you start first?
Thank you. This is an interesting question, and I'm a little bit laughing because 98, I think I was in the mid of the workshop, workshopping, I would say, and there was a discussion, is it possible to make a successful workshop if you don't go on site? And then at that time we said, no way, it's not possible. You have to go to there. It's not possible to do a project otherwise. Yeah, but you see, in the last 2 years, when we are forced to work online and we are forced to observe, sense, and to build knowledge on different areas far away, of course, we help each other, we help our work with different kind of technologies, definitely. I mean, we have this OpenStreetMap, we have LIDAR, for example, which helps us see. We have the Google Earth. We have a lot of instruments which didn't exist 20 years ago. So in a certain way, it is much easier than it was. And even if we go to the site, we use those instruments to understand better. For example, using LiDAR for understanding the location. It's very important because even if you go to a certain site and then there is all wood, but with the LiDAR you can see through the wood and you can really see the ground. You need that, and that's from far away. So I would say it's, I guess, we came to a phase where we combine all. It's the best to combine all, but sometimes with this pandemic we can't do it. But I think we are in a better scheme than we were 20 years ago. It's easier.
Okay, thank you. Can, do you have anything to say?
Yes, I agree with my colleague here. And I also want to add that humans are adaptable to many challenges. Architects are more adaptable to every kind of challenge. We are able to make leaps forward by taking strong steps, courageful steps. And we have, I believe, shown it in this pandemic time. We have prepared our students for student competitions away from their home country, far away from the context they live. They've made projects in Nigeria, they've made projects in Marrakesh and whatever part of the world. So they, using all those technologies, Google Earth and other, they actually was experiencing every street of the place they chose. They found cultural and legal knowledges of these countries, how to build buildings, how to use the areas. They can, there is enough knowledge on the internet. There is enough knowledge on everywhere, and we have to teach them to use it right, collect the necessary information, and put it into the project where the project user will have it better for themselves. So we can do it.
So as far as the studio is aware of sensing a place, there are always a tool or many tools. He or she finds a lot of tools to search it, to understand it, to feel it. Of course, we cannot touch places personally, but we touch places mentally. So we understand places better, maybe, somehow. And there's one more question to Lucija about also what we are doing here. We are trying to organize an international group who can share their experiences. At the beginning of your speech, you talked about the workshops and your European other colleagues' participation to it. I'm not sure about how you collaborate in Europe. I mean, when a European collaborates with another European, maybe you are more closer to each other, but when a Turkish person or a team collaborates with a European one or Far East one or Asian one, it's much more different. So what do you think about these things? I mean, there are lots of cultures on Earth, and there are lots of the ways of handling things. Maybe Europeans are more unique in how they are dealing with the problems. Do you feel so, or you also feel some problems?
Actually not. I have to say that one of my first workshops, and basically I did most of the workshops I organized or I participated were international. So, but one of the first, which I still am carrying in my heart because it was beautiful, was in Selçuk in Efes, so in Turkey. And as you say, there was, I think there were about 100 students there. They're right. This was a part of the Coastwise Europe project. And, you know, there were people from all over Europe. Turkey is also part of Europe, I think. And they were all over Europe, and different kind of professors who didn't meet before, different students who didn't meet before. And we stayed there 10 days, and it was really magnificent. It was wonderful because in those intensive 10 days, you not only exchange the knowledge, you don't only exchange the experience, but it's a interaction of views, of living habits, I mean, it's a complex experience, which I think every student should experience at least once in their studies. We continued then, and for example, we had in the same framework of Coastwise Europe, we organized also for 2 weeks long workshop called Flows 98 in Slovenia, in Croatia, and in Italy. And there were also our Turkish colleagues who came there, and I can't imagine a workshop without them. So it was, I think this kind of exchange, international exchange is really necessary. And when I was previously explaining, when we concluded our European project and workshops, I've written kind of instructions how workshops should be organized, what kind of organization there is, who is all involved, and so on. And of course, it's international. There should be all kind of stakeholders, different universities, different students, and so on. The only problem to really do that is if you want to organize something like that, it's time consuming. So during the studies, it's quite hard to do the organization, or at least you have to have quite a big team for organization. But otherwise, I still think this kind of workshops, some call it also summer schools, some call it living labs, but they are necessary. And I think they are necessary also to be a part of the studio.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that's enough for tonight. Both presentations were wonderful. Thank you very much for the presentators, to Can Güngör and Lucija Azman Momirski from Slovenia. We have different ways of doing things, but I believe, and it is very certain that we do the same thing. We try to make young people aware of the value of space and creating good quality spaces that human and other also living natures can shelter. So thank you very much for your collaboration, for your participation. And I hope this collaboration goes on in form of workshops or some other formed events. We have a few students visiting Slovenia time to time by Erasmus program, but we will be very happy to see, to host Slovenian students in our institute as well. So that's all for this night. I think everybody got tired, but it was a very enjoyable evening. We have two very valuable speeches, and now we have two very valuable exhibitions. These exhibitions can be seen, can be lived for a while. So when you have time, the audience, dear audience, please click on it and have a look at it in detail. So I think that's all. If you have some last comments, it is time to say.
Thank you very much. I think it was very inspiring, and I'm looking for the next one in a month.
Okay, thank you very much. John, do you have anything to say?
I just want to thank everybody, every attender to the seminar, webinar. We hope to see them on the next month event.
Okay, thank you very much. I also re-thank my dean, Professor Nakış Karamaralı, who was with us whole night. There is congratulations message from Professor Nazan Kırcı and many other colleagues of mine. Thank you very much, my colleagues in Gazi also. So see you next month in a similar event. I think it will be enjoyable as well. So see you all. Good night.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay.